This is Zagana, Burma's most famous comedian and a folk hero to many. In this footage smuggled out of Burma, he's organising private aid for the Irrawaddy Delta, filling the void left by the regime. Last night his home was raided and he was arrested. His crime, trying to help the neglected victims of the cyclone. His operation had been reaching far-flung parts of the Delta, where desperate survivors, cut off from international aid, had been largely abandoned by the regime. Zagana's arrest fits a pattern of deliberate government obstruction of life-saving aid more than a month after the cyclone struck. Millions are still in desperate need. A handful of survivors have managed to escape, bringing with them shocking testimony of abuse by a government that had promised to help them. This is the main crossing point from Burma into Thailand, and people are prepared to do almost anything to get across. For refugees from the Delta, it's a far-flung sanctuary, but such is their desperation, many are prepared to trek several days to get here to seek help. And they're some of the luckier ones. This couple and their young children travelled 4 days to get here from the devastated town of Bogale. They were forced to bribe soldiers to get past the gridlock of checkpoints. They told Channel 4 News they had to compete in a humiliating daily lucky draw just to get their hands on a single tin of food. This is aid by lottery.
One day we got nothing, so we went to the authorities and demanded to get some food. Our children were crying. They said, "Today there's nothing. Just come back again tomorrow for the lucky draw."
Tragically, they are some of the lucky few. Here at least they have food and a roof over their heads. It's all so different in her hometown. While searching Bogale for her missing parents, now presumed dead after their bodies were not recovered, she witnessed how children from devastated villages, lacking food and medicine, died in the unsanitary and overcrowded conditions.
I couldn't find my parents, but I saw some children from the villages. On the first day they were alive, but when I returned again, they were already dead from starvation.
She says that she heard that as many as 200 people could have died, mostly children and the elderly, in those early weeks. Their deaths that could have been prevented if real assistance had been provided. On the other side of Mae Sot, we met another man from the Bogale area, a businessman who is politically active. He too witnessed how the government deliberately blocked monks from delivering aid to the victims in his area.
A road to the villages in our area that was being used by the monks to deliver aid was blocked when a government truck came and dumped a huge pile of rubbish. A group of us went to remove that rubbish so that the aid could still get to the villages. What the government did was a cruel act.
He also confirmed reports that soldiers were stealing relief materials at gunpoint and that refugees were being forcibly relocated against their will.
Refugees from destroyed villages came to Bogale to seek help, but the government forced them to move to a township outside the city. Some of them died on the way there when their boat sank. So others begged them not to be sent to that place, but they threatened them, saying, "We'll arrest you if you don't go."
These first-hand testimonies challenge the now familiar picture that is presented over and over on Burma's surreal state television. Here was Maung Aye, the regime's commander-in-chief, on Wednesday, touring a small, sanitized pocket of the vast disaster zone. In this bizarre scene, the refugees line up to thank the regime for their benevolent assistance, their faces frozen in fear under the watchful eye of the fully armed guards accompanying the general on a fleeting visit. Refugees in Mae Sot told us many of these displays are a fiction, set up specially for the cameras. In these images, the camera captures a very different reality in the Bogale area. One of the people from Zagana's aid group assures these desperate children they will try to assist them all. These operations are an increasingly critical lifeline. Despite the fanfare surrounding Ban Ki-moon's recent visit, the access to international aid the UN chief was promised by the generals has never materialized. Their pledge, apparently an empty one. Today, Amnesty International released a damning report documenting how the regime, also known as the SPDC, has forcibly displaced refugees and misused aid.
People who are dying now are dying as a direct result of the obstruction and the neglect of the SPDC. Those deaths are traceable to the SPDC.
This woman, who's been helped by Zagana's relief group, says that in this battle for survival, few now trust the government to provide any assistance. And as news spreads about the arrest of the comedian, provoking even more anger, the last laugh may be on the generals. Inigo, Gilmore, Channel 4 News, May Sod.